Aloha, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Las Vegas Travel and More. And I'm here with a special guest, a friend of mine, Marc Headley. How you doing today, Marc?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I've wanted to have you on for a little bit, let people get to know you a little better. And also we're going to talk about travel and different things like that and what you're into and all, so people can get an idea of Marc Headley, a little bit more about you. And of course, you were just here in Las Vegas recently. We're going to show photographs from that and saw that too. But you've actually done quite a bit of traveling, haven't you, over the years?
Yeah, for my job, for the work that I do, I travel. I want to say maybe once a month, sometimes multiple places within a month. But I'll say in a year, I might at least take 20, 30 flights in a year, depending on what's going on and where the projects that I'm working on are located. But I've also been to Europe many times, England, France, Germany, Switzerland, Amsterdam. Um, we do a lot of my family do we do a lot of cruises and a lot of
Right.
vacations. We travel for most of our vacations. So yes, I am very, very used to traveling. And in terms of Las Vegas, I've probably been to Las Vegas more than 50 times over the years, because every year, at least once every year, um, or every other year, there's a convention, an audio-visual convention that takes place at the convention center in Las
Hmm.
Vegas, and that is why I was there this last time. And Claire and I use that as an excuse to go there and and bring Grayson with us, because he had never been. And there are a lot of fun things for kids to do in Vegas as well, even though it's mostly adult entertainment. There are some very cool sort of young adult and kid stuff to do there that
And of course,
he.
you've been here a couple of times for Depeche Mode recently, right?
Yes, I saw at the arena there, right next to New York. New York, is it T-Mobile? Is that it?
T-Mobile Arena, yeah.
T-Mobile Arena. I saw Depeche Mode twice in the last year there. I don't. I think one was in December, and then the concert before that was. I'd like to say some. I want to say during the summer sometime.
And you
Um,
brought Claire. Claire came with you, and didn't your sons come with you too, or your older sons? The first.
when we actually saw many shows, but the two Vegas shows, Claire went with me to one of the shows in Las Vegas, and then some friends of mine that I actually met at a Depeche Mode concert in San Antonio had an extra ticket to the Vegas show, and so I went to that show with them, and that was the last one that I went to. But the boys did come with us to the San Antonio show, and they
Oh,
did
okay.
come with us to a Depeche Mode concert in Denver that was here. They came to that one as well. So
Yeah,
they've been to a few. They're good.
that's cool. Now, everybody has a favorite band, but how did you get into Depeche Mode? I mean, obviously, it must have been in the 1980s. Is that when it happened?
It was in the early 1980s, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and there was a radio station in Los Angeles called KROQ 106.7 in Los
Hmm.
Angeles, K Rock, that used to play Depeche Mode, and that was the station I listened to, and I got hooked early on, and yeah, I started becoming a real hardcore fan. I want to say in like 84, 85, and that's when I started actually going to concerts. I want to say the first concert I went to was in 1986 or 87, a Black Celebration concert, and then Music for the Masses, and a bunch of other album tours that they did it back at the time. And then, yeah, I've just been going to as many shows as I can since. And this last show or tour, a lot of people were saying, I don't know, this might be the last time they go. So I always use that as a great excuse when Claire's like, we did go to two concerts on this tour so far. And I'm like, this may be the last time they tour, babe. I got to go to as many as I can. And I've been saying that for like the last 10 tours.
Okay, now, what do you think about? Are they a potential act for like the Sphere here in Las Vegas? You've heard of the Sphere, right? The big. You probably saw it last trip you were here outside, right?
Yeah, right out of our hotel window, we could see the whole thing, and we had our windows. We had a suite at this hotel called the Fountain Blue, and we had a perfect view of it, and we could see. Yeah, that's the one, and we could see. We could see it out of our room and Grayson's room. We could see the sphere. Very cool. I don't think I don't really think Depeche Mode would do that sort of thing. They don't live in the same place. The main two members of the band, they actually live on the opposite coasts of the United States. One of them lives in New York, and one of them lives in Santa Barbara. So I don't think I don't think they do a thing at the Sphere.
The only reason I ask is because the whole experience, I haven't been to it yet, but I had friends who went and saw U2 in the Sphere. And right now, the surviving members of the Grateful Dead are in there, right?
Yeah.
Is the visuals are outstanding. So could you imagine, like, if there was Depeche Mode, if they had all these visuals to go with their song, would it not fit, or is it just,
it would be an amazing show if they did do it. I just don't think.
Well, and U2 got paid $1 million a show. Wow. So if they did 3 shows a week, that's $3 million a week.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I wish they would, because then I'd go see it. But
you never know. The Eagles are coming this September. For anybody that wants to know about the Sphere, they're starting in September, and they're going to be here for, like, I don't know, 2-3 months or whatever, and they'll have visuals for them as well. But it's kind of like they have to have these old bands, you know what I mean? Because they're the only ones that really their fans might pay, $800 or $500 to see a ticket like that,
Yeah, it's fun. It's a wild thing at these concerts he does, because even Depeche Mode. I mean, Depeche Mode started in 1980, so the band itself is over 50. The band is over 50 years old. So luckily, they started when they were in their like late teens, so they're still going. But when you go to these shows, almost all the people there are my age. A majority of them are between the 40 and 60. And the tickets for these concerts are not cheap. So you kind of have to be a little bit older and have some extra dough laying around to be able to afford some of these shows. And of course, there's young people there at the shows as well. But you're right. For a show like that, I could see a lot of these older bands being able to do that, because their fans are much older and may be able to afford something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild difference in taste, right? Because I knew the name Depeche Mode, and I knew, like, People Are People, that song, and it hit. If I heard that, I go, oh, that's Depeche Mode. But there were a lot of other songs that they did that were hits. I didn't even know that was them until you got into them, so I started looking them up. There's a song I do like that they do called Stripped. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's a really cool song. I've heard that many times in clubs and stuff over the years. And then I went, oh, that's Depeche Mode. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I was more Duran Duran, and I was more Michael Jackson, and then I got into the hair bands, the Van Halens and the Poisons, and Def Leppard and all that stuff.
What do you like better, Van Hagar or Van Halen?
Well, they're both good, but I'm really a Van Halen with David Lee Roth, just because that was the whole show. And of course, we were in Scientology when that came out, and I'll tell you a quick funny story. The person who introduced me to Van Halen was Jason Bennett.
Nice.
Jason Bennett. I had no idea. We were on renovations, and he had a boombox, put in this thing. I went, played Jamie's Crying. I went, who is that? He goes, oh, that's Van Halen. I went, oh, man, I thought they were too hard, right? But then I listened to it while we were doing renos. I went, man, they're really good.
Yeah, I remember when I was little, I used to watch a lot of MTV, and Jump was one of the biggest, videos that you'd see on MTV for when it came out. It was on every, want to say every few hours you'd see it no matter what. Yeah. But Van Halen. I do like Van Halen, but I also do like Van Halen with Sammy Hagar a lot. I like the Why Can't This Be Love, and that whole album, the at least 2 or 3 albums that they did with Hagar.
I've seen him a couple times. I've seen him with Sammy Hagar back in 1996, I think, whatever, here in Vegas, and they were fantastic, right? And then David Lee Roth rejoined the band like in the 2000s or something, and I saw them at the MGM Grand Garden here in Las Vegas, because I thought, man, I'm going to see David Lee Roth with the band, and Eddie Van Halen's son was playing bass and all that, right?
Yeah, Wolfgang.
The sound quality was so loud. I mean, literally, it just sounded. I'm sure you've experienced this at concerts too. Whoever's doing the floor mixing, That's terrible because it's so loud that it's just distortion and just loud. And it was not pleasant at all. I left about halfway through the show.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever. I went to a Depeche Mode concert that was at the Rose Bowl,
Uh-huh.
and it was called Concert for the Masses, and it was in the late 1980s. And my friend and I, we were front row center for that show. We actually had the two tickets that were right in the middle, and when the opening band came out, it was a band called Wire, and it was Wire, Thomas Dolby, OMD, and then Depeche Mode. And
Mhm.
when Wire came out, we had been hanging out and sitting there, and it was during the summer, and it was in August of, I want to say, 1988. And they put their Wire, they get their guitar on and whatever, and as soon as the guitarist hit those strings, we were actually holding cups and drinks, and the speaker stacks across the front of the Rose Bowl were as wide as the football field. So,
Mhm.
maybe 50 yards across of just speakers that were taller than us, the
Right.
entire front row. When that guy hit the guitar strings and went, bam, the cups almost flew out of our hands. And it was just like, oh my God, we're going to be doing this for 4 more hours. And but it was an amazing show. I
Yeah.
want to say that concert was the pinnacle of any concert. That it was the top concert that I've ever been to. And even when I've been to these later shows, because of course, decades
Yeah.
have gone by, and the stages and the music and the sound and audio quality and all that have gone up. But there was just something very special, magical about that one show. But even the last one that we went to, the last Depeche Mode show that I saw, I was like, I don't know, that's like maybe top 5 show right now.
Yeah.
So it's
I
very,
one other I'll tell you one other quick story. In 1992, after I left, right, I
yeah.
was working in Houston, Texas, as a promotions manager for this huge nightclub down there. Anyway, we put on the backstage party in the Astrodome for Guns N' Roses and Metallica when they were on tour together, and
Yeah.
that was the tour. That was the tour where James Hetfield, pyrotechnics went off in Canada about 2 weeks before, and he burned his arm.
Yeah.
So literally, they put on the show in the Astrodome, and I got to meet them and see that he didn't talk. He was in pain and just left. But that was the most incredible experience. I didn't know Metallica at all, and I then became a fan. And then, of course, I was a Guns N' Roses fan. But that was kind of a cool experience for me.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. One of the great things about going to the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas is when you go to any of these other shows, you're going to usually a remote stadium or a remote location like the Kia Forum, or in San Antonio, the place that they were playing there. And then you have to leave that place to go back to your hotel or your house or wherever it is. And the amazing thing about T-Mobile in Las Vegas is we're staying at the New York hotel in Las Vegas. So we walked out of our hotel and across, like, basically like a courtyard, and then we were at the
Right.
T-Mobile Arena. So it takes about maybe 5-10 minutes, like literally from your room to when you're in the arena. And so even if you buy merch outside, usually they'll have t-shirts and pins or hats and
Right.
whatever. You could get that stuff and just go back to your room, put the stuff away, and then go back to the concert. So you're not lugging all this stuff around if you're that
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. They
so it's a great setup there, the way they have it. It's very similar to, like, if you're staying if you go to this what was the Staples Center, I don't know what they call it now, but
Yeah, it's some .com something or other, crypto arena or something like that.
whatever it is, whatever used to be the Staples Center, you could do a similar thing. You could stay in downtown LA and then just walk over there. But in Vegas, it literally is adjacent, next door to the T-Mobile Arena.
Yeah, and then now they're tearing down the Tropicana Hotel, which is catty corner to New York, and across the street from the MGM. They're going to implode it shortly, and then that's going to be built as the baseball stadium for the Oakland A's. who are moving to Las Vegas in 3 years or whatever it is.
That's
And so
wild.
it's all to be there. And then, of course, Allegiant Stadium for the Raiders is just about a half a mile down the road, And so, yeah, we're just the entertainment capital of the world. There's no doubt about it. We had the Super Bowl in February, and it was a no-brainer. There was nothing, it was no big deal. We had the rooms and we had the entertainment capacity.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even for like it used to be when I would go there for this convention that the convention that I go to, it's in Vegas one year, and then the next year it's Orlando, and then the next year Vegas, and then the next year Orlando. So it just alternates between those two. And I think one of the main reasons that they pick it like that is because tens and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people are coming for this convention over maybe a week period. Some are there's audio visual training courses, and then there's exhibits, and there's all sorts of meetings that can take place, and this is where you can engage in person with technology and technology experts in the audio visual world. But there's been years, decades ago, when you'd go and you'd have to get a room because there's only so many rooms. And now it's more like, you'll be fine. Vegas has so many places. And we did
I think it's like 140,000 rooms now or something ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And I go to Vegas on a pretty regular basis. I didn't even know this place that we ended up getting a room at. I didn't even know it existed. I was like,
I was going to, let's talk about the Fontainebleau. Yeah, I've got photographs. So go ahead. What was it like?
It was amazing. It was also fun because we had just gone to a wedding that was in Oregon, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And we stayed at like I want to call it a resort. It was a resort and spa, but it was in the kind of out in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. And it was okay. It wasn't anything special, but the rooms that we had there were almost about $200 a night at this place in Oregon. And the room we had at the Fontainebleau was like $10 more, and we had a suite. So it was amazing. And I don't know if it was a good rate because we had been there for the convention. I didn't. My wife Claire does all my travel booking, so I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know how she got this great deal, but we did get a great deal. But when we walked into the lobby, our son Grayson, who had never been to Vegas, and I don't think he's ever really been to any of these, like a super, super fancy hotel. He's been to nice hotels all over the place, but the lobby of the Fontainebleau, you could fit the entire resort that we stayed at inside the lobby. So when he was in there, and then when I told him the room was about the same as the room, he was like, "No way!" He could not believe it. But it was great. I'm not a big gambler. There you go. That's where Grayson and I spent.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a rendering photo. I couldn't find real photos, but did it look like that, the swimming pool area?
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing. The pools were so perfect. And Grayson and Claire went to the pools for a bit when I was at the convention on one day. And then we actually were going to leave a day earlier, and Grayson had so much fun, and I wanted to hang out with him a bit as well. And then Claire had to make another trip somewhere else. So we actually ended up staying an extra day where Grayson and I just hung out after I was done with all my work and meetings. We hung out at the pool, I want to say maybe 6-7 hours. We just chilled out and, went
Tell the story about when you guys were looking at, there was another little pool or whatever, and there were all these people.
Oh, yeah. So they do have like a private area, which I guess it's like a lot of cabanas around a pool, and it's more exclusive and sort of high end. And I think you have to have a special reservation for a cabana or whatever to get into this thing. We didn't do it, so I don't know all the details, but there was hundreds of people waiting to get into this place. And it was next to the pools that we were in, so we could see them queuing up over there. And when we were done for the day and we went up to our room, we looked down, and the pools that we were in, maybe there were 10. It's kind of like 4 or 5 pools that are all connected to each other, and they're really long and kind of they curve
like
around.
this, right?
Yeah. So there might have been 10 or 15 people in each one of those little sections. And the pool that was this private pool that everybody was in, there was like 1,000 people all in this one little tiny pool. You couldn't even barely see the water because it was so full of people. And Grayson goes, they paid extra to have less fun. And I was like, yep, that's exactly right, Grayson. I was like, I would never go in. Like, I'm already kind of like if we go to a place like Vegas and there's a giant pool and it's got 10 people in it, I'm okay with that. But
Yeah,
even if there was 100 people in that pool, I'd be like,
yeah,
we gotta go. This is
yeah.
too much. And so if there was 1,000 or 2,000 or three, how many ever people, they were jammed in there like sardines. I'm like, no, not doing that. I do not do
Plus they're drinking, and you don't know if they're dumping their drinks in the pool or
Oh,
peeing
they
in the
are.
pool.
They're
Or
dumping their drinks in the pool, but not from the cup. Okay.
yeah,
It's the drinks have been processed by the time that they're
yeah.
released into the pool. Yeah, no,
Okay, well,
I'm not into that.
yeah, I was gonna mention one other thing too, because you said you hadn't been to the Flamingo. Fountain You told me, oh, we're staying at the Blue. How close is it to the convention center? And I went, oh, it's right next door. You know what I mean?
It's actually, yeah, it's across the street. So you walk, and we did. That's the boring tunnel.
Yeah, I have some photos. I was gonna talk to you about that. But
Yeah,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
have
Talk
a
about the convention
photo
center.
of me in front of that thing right there because in
Yeah,
order to go to well, the convention was actually in two separate halls. And in order to go from the central hall to the west hall, you have to go outside. And it's a long walk. And the walk is long enough that it's okay if it's not that hot outside, but it was 106 the
yeah,
day I was there. So, and I wanted to go in the tunnel anyway to check it out. So actually I went twice. I went to the central hall from the west hall and then back to the west hall from the central hall. So I got to do it 2 trips. It's very cool and it's very quick. I mean, you just walk down there, get in a car, drive to the other side, you go up and you're at the place, and then you come back, get in a car, and it just takes you. And they just have I want to say hundreds of cars that are just always running through the tunnels. And
yeah.
so
Is this like one of the stations? You come down to it, and there's cars there, right?
yeah, I want to say that's at the West Hall. I can't remember
Yeah,
which is which,
maybe.
but I want to say
Yeah,
that's at the West Hall, and then you can take that to go to the Central Hall, or vice versa. But they drive pretty fast in there too. The car I was in, I think I want to say, got up to like 40 in the tunnel, and there were other people with me in the car. If you have 3 people, then 3 people get in,
to
and there's a
share.
driver. And if
Yeah,
it's just a single, you can pretty much just walk up and get in within, because there's usually it's 2 people or 1 people. So you just get in whatever line shorter, a car pulls up, you get in and you go.
and
So
there's a driver. You don't drive it. There's a driver there for you, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's all they do all day is drive these
yeah,
things. So when you get in, they're just like, okay, put your seatbelt on, boof, and then you go. So it was
yeah.
tons of fun. I mean, I really, it's kind of weird because whenever I usually go to Vegas, I go by myself, and I've hung out with you a bunch of times when I
Yeah,
go, because sometimes I get like VIP party access, or depending
yeah,
on which vendor I'm working with, they'll be like, hey, you're gonna be here on Friday, we're gonna have a cool party at the blah 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 place. And it's like, sure. And then I'll go, and usually because I'm by myself, I'll be like, hey Mark, you want to come and hang out at a
yeah.
party that we don't have to pay for? um and so, but I'm just pretty chill, and it's mostly work. This is the first time that I've been in a long time where Claire and one of my sons came, with my wife, and one of my sons came, and we got to just kind of hang out and have fun the days that I didn't have to do work and stuff like that. So it was
That's a
definitely
good trip.
enjoyable. It was
Yeah,
hot. It was in the
yeah,
hundreds. I want to say every day that we were there, it was
yeah. It
over
was.
100
Yeah,
degrees.
it was a
Um,
dry heat.
Yeah, they say that that's a Vegas thing. It's a dry heat. Yeah, if you're from Colorado, where I'm from, and you go to Vegas, it's heat, like a lot. Dry, wet, it don't matter. It's hot. So,
Yeah,
but it was nice to be able to hang out at the pool, and the pool also, the temperatures. A lot of the times, my kids will get in a pool no matter what the temperature. I've seen them get into pools that have just thawed at the top. Okay. Um, But this pool was nice. Grayson goes, it must be heated. I was like, you think the sun is putting out 106? So I mean, that could do it. But it was not. The
Well,
water was.
it's funny too because we did a video with Claire months ago or whatever, and she said your kids, if she doesn't watch them, they wear shorts in the middle of the winter to school,
Oh
and
yeah,
she's got to make sure they put on long pants. They don't care.
we had to institute a rule. If it's below, like, just so that we wouldn't have to tell them every single time. We say, listen, if it's below 30, you have to put on pants. Okay, that's our rule in our house. So my kids will, if it's snowing, my kids will wear shorts. They don't phase. They're Colorado kids now, so
Yeah.
they're very, very acclimated to the altitude and the cold. But so yeah, if we go to LA and it's in the 50s, we're all wearing shorts, and everyone in LA are wearing jackets and long sleeves. And they're like, how are you wearing that so cold? It's like, it's 50. This is summer weather. What are you talking about? And to all those Europeans watching, I'm talking Fahrenheit. Okay, so 50 degrees Fahrenheit in Los Angeles is very, very balmy and nice. I love 50s, 60s are just perfect for me.
I have to tell you though something. Death Valley is not far from Las Vegas in California, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it in the summertime it can get to 130 or 130, like it's the hottest place in the United States in the summertime, right? And there's a resort there called Furnace Creek. It's an old hotel or whatever. So I went there in the wintertime. I said, who comes here in the summer when it's 130? And they go, oh, the Germans come from Europe. They love it. They love hanging out. It's 130. They love it and they come.
That's wild. Yeah. And it does get very cold there in the desert at night. During the winter, it does get down very, very low. But yeah, it's fine as long as you can cool off, and you got to wear sunscreen, and don't go too crazy. And that is a kind of a wild thing, is we were there for 2 or 3 days and nobody got burnt.
No.
And I
was going to mention, I just wanted to finish up on the Boring Company and that Elon Musk, the Teslas. They've now extended. They have that system was set up for the convention center, and then they extended it to Resort World. Well, they've now extended it to the Westgate Hotel, and now they're making a tunnel all the way to the airport. And they just broke ground at the Virgin Hotel, which used to be the Hard Rock Hotel. So they got to bore underground. You would not even know that they're boring. I mean, they're down under there, and next thing you know, they're popping up somewhere where they have land. But the Clark County Commission has approved them making tunnels to all the casinos and to the airport and to the stadiums. And so, and they say like 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to have this system throughout. And it's going to be a great way for people. They won't just have individual Teslas. They'll have special vehicles that are electric, but they can fit lots of people and then go. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they actually have this new device called the Monster, and the name of the tunneling machine is called either the Proof Rock 2 or the Proof Rock 3, but they just built a tunnel in Texas, and they have this machine that the tunnel boring machine can just drive out of the ground, and this machine, it just lands on this machine, and that machine just is pulled on a trailer and it just drives off. So it's very cool how it lifts. This machine actually pulls the boring machine onto it, and then it just drives away. So they used to lift it with a crane and then move it and put it, so they can come up inside of a building with this machine now and just drive out on a truck. So,
yeah, and just for our viewers to know that machine is like the sandworms in Dune. You know what I mean? It's literally round and it's just eating everything in its way.
Yeah, I want to say it's like a 9-meter. The tunnel is a 9-meter circle. It's about that, depending on which machine they're using. But I want to say it's pretty decent. It's heavy. It's a lot of machinery.
Well, I wanted to move on. When we spent some time with you, and we went to this, Mark and Grayson and your wife Claire, they went to this place called Area 15, and so we met you and Claire and Grayson. Janice and I did. There's a restaurant in there now. This place has been here for a couple of years now, and I'd never been into it. I've dropped people off there and all that, but it's really like a virtual reality world. This is the entrance area. I just took some pictures here, right? But we went to this restaurant called The Beast by Todd English, and I didn't even know it was there. But tell everybody how did Grayson, your son, is the one who picked it out, right?
Yeah, so when we were gonna go, we were trying to see if Grayson would want to go or not. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just went on YouTube and said fun places for kids in Las Vegas. And this place, Area 15, came up, and they showed the virtual reality stuff, and Grayson's like, oh, that's really cool. And then they showed up some other stuff, and he said, that's cool. And then he showed this burger restaurant. Grayson loves himself a burger. And so as soon
I
as
got
they
a
showed
picture.
this burger restaurant, they had these potatoes that they slice and they put on top of the burger. And as soon as Grayson saw that, he's like, we have to go there for dinner. And I'm always just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he's like, no. Promise that we will go there for dinner on one of the days that we're there. So it ended up being, I want to say, the first day the first full day that we were there.
Yeah, the first full day. Mm-hmm.
Claire and him had gone to this Area 15 place. And then when I finished at the convention, then I went over there as well. And we had dinner at this place. But that was really it. And the burgers were amazing. And those little potato fry things were delicious. And of course, Claire.
Yeah, Janice and I joined as well. It's a barbecue place too. And I had that's a tri-tip brisket steak, cheesesteak or whatever that we had. And then that was a wedge salad that we had. But it's this is inside the Area 15, and it's inside, really great lights. This is the kitchen at the Beast. And then I've got a few more photos here. And of course, there we are.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we had a great time, and Grayson loved that place. He, even when we went there, because when we go out, we get to yapping, and Grayson, he's like, this could go forever. These people could talk all night if I let them. So he just went off and did a bunch of VR games while we were at dinner.
Yeah.
And then when he finished those and came back, he's like, okay, now we got to go. Okay, you guys have been yapping for a long time, and I already went and did all the fun things that are left to do that I hadn't done during the day. So we're going now. Yeah, that they have this kind of
it's like the Mad Max car.
Yeah, it's like a sculpt. It's like an art piece, but it's a sculpture, and maybe Mad Max kind of ish. And Grayson and I we climbed in that thing. It's really funny. It says on that, it says don't touch it, but but you can sit in it. So I was like,
what's the difference?
You're not supposed to touch any of the back parts except for the seats.
Oh, okay.
Seats are the only thing they want you to touch. But we had a ton of fun. And then like I said, we had a ton. There's a lot of restaurants at the Fountain Blue and pool and stuff. We did the stuff in there. And we were deciding if we wanted to go somewhere else. But between the Area 15 and the hotel we were staying at, there was plenty of things to do. And then then the next day after that, because I had wanted to go, last time we went to Vegas, we wanted to go to this place called China Mama. Right. And at the time that I was there, it was closed, or they had closed one location and they were opening a new location. So we didn't go to that. We went to some other place, which was amazing and was great. But so when we went back, I was like, hey, did that China Mama play? And you're like, yeah, the new place opened. I was like, well, let's go there. And Grayson, again, I want to go. Any food, I want to go. And so we had a great time. And I actually saw the video that you did. And Grayson loved all of the pot stickers and the rice and the chow mein and the
egg rolls
and the egg rolls, and he was just like, he was loving it. That's the crispy pork.
The fried rice was really good too. It was light and fluffy. Sometimes when you get fried rice, it's very greasy and heavy, but this was really good.
Yeah, I do like it when it's more it's not so greasy and not so much, and they made it perfect. So we actually took a ton of leftovers, and I think I'm pretty sure before the end of the night they were long gone. They didn't make it too long back to when we got.
It was really good. Did you guys end up going to that revolving sushi robot restaurant the next day, or no? Before you left the airport?
We didn't have time. We thought our flights were later than they were, and we were actually on our way there We were just about to get in an Uber,
Yeah.
and we were walking down, and I said, let's just check our boarding passes just to see. And the time that I had thought that we were going to go to the restaurant, that's actually when our flight was going to board. So I was like, Grayson, change of plans. We've got to go right now. We were just going to bring our suitcases with us to the restaurant and then go from the restaurant to the airport.
Yeah.
And, but I told him, I said, they have one in Denver. We can eat one. We can
Yeah.
go here in Denver. It's called Kura. It's actually a chain. I've been to them in multiple locations. I think they have
Yeah.
one.
Revolving sushi. Yeah.
Yeah, they have one in Framingham, Massachusetts that I've been to several times, and they have another one in, I want to say, Tyson's Corner in Virginia. They have, I
Yeah.
think they have one there, and I've been to a bunch of other ones. But so as soon as I saw it, I pulled up the app and I was like, oh yeah, we can go there. I can make us a reservation in my little thingy wing. But we didn't end up going there, but we'll go. We'll get there. Now that if Grayson sees this, he's going to be like, I
Yeah.
heard you guys talking about the restaurant. We never went. What's up? Come on.
Well, that brings up a good point for everybody. I did do a video on China Mama review, and it's on this channel, my channel here, Las Vegas Travel and More. And I would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. This is my personal channel. It's not the Scientology channel that I have as well. But I've got 712 subscribers right now. I've got almost 4,000 hours. So I need another 200 and something subscribers. So I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, and you'll get great content because I do video reviews of different places in Las Vegas. I've lived here for 34 years. And, I know places to go that aren't expensive that serve really great food. And so I'd really appreciate it if anybody would subscribe to the channel.
Nice. Yeah, I just started a personal channel too. I'll give you the description if you want. You could put it in the link. If you can put it in the description of this. But yeah, I just started a personal channel to do non-Scientology related videos, and we have a Tesla that we drove to the top of Pikes Peak, and we put it in full self-driving mode, and it drove.
Oh no!
Yeah, we did up and down, and it's pretty wild.
Well, and I told you my Pikes Peak story, which is when I was there 10 years ago, and I was driving, and once I got above the tree line and there's no guardrail and you're going back and forth and all you see is dirt and clouds, I freaked out and I turned around and went back down. I didn't make it to the top. It's really freaky driving up there. I can't imagine having the autopilot drive you up.
It's wild because it doesn't it does what it needs to do when it needs to do it, and you're like, don't drive off the side because there's no railing, and there's sections of the road when we were going up there, the asphalt, you have your double yellow line in the center of the road, and then where the asphalt ends there's a white line, and the asphalt may go an inch past that line, and that past that asphalt there could be like 6 inches of dirt, and then it's just a drop off. So
I know
it's there's no shoulders, there's no for most of the way. It's you stay on the road, and it's funny because even when I drive up, I did a bunch of work at the top of Pikes Peak, so I've driven up there.
Yeah.
I estimate that I've driven up there over 200 times.
Yeah.
Myself personally, and I've also gone up on the Cog Railway, and there's other ways you can get up there. But when I was driving up there with Kale, my oldest son, and the car was driving, I was like, this is now I get how people feel when they just drive up normally. They're very anxious. And even a lot of times I'll see people, they drive on the wrong side on the way going up because they're afraid to drive on the right side.
I did that too.
Fall off.
And it is so narrow, like you said, with no shoulder, that when I decided to turn around, I had to do a Y turn to get my car turned around going the opposite way. Now, there weren't a lot of cars going up, so I had plenty of time to do it, but it's very, very freaky.
Yeah, it is. So those were fun videos. Yeah. So we went all the way up, and then we spent the day up there doing a bunch of work. And then at the end of the day, we drove back down. And the funny thing was that I had actually just been there 2 or 3 days prior to that, because Grayson and I go fishing at the Pikes Peak, and there's a giant reservoir about not halfway, maybe it's a 18-mile road from the bottom to the top, and at mile 6 there's what's called Crystal Creek Reservoir, and we've been fishing there several times. So yeah, I
Well,
was
that
just
brings up my next thing was true or false. You and your sons have taken up fishing.
yes, true, very true.
Well, tell everybody, how did this come about? I mean, here you are here with some of your catches. I mean, how did this come about? I mean, I don't know how old you are or whatever, but it's like it's a new hobby for you guys, right?
Yeah, we've been fishing for several years, and we kind of there are lots of lakes here in Colorado, and we actually started watching a channel on YouTube. It's called the Outdoor Boys. It's very family friendly YouTube channel, and it's this guy. I think he actually used to be a lawyer, and he would
Mm-hmm.
just go on these trips with he has 3 sons, and he would go on these trips with his 3 sons. So I have 3 sons, and we go on a lot of trips. So we were kind of watching these videos like, oh, that would be a cool place to go. And we actually ended up, this family, they live in Alaska. And some of the trips that they did, we've done those same exact trips. We went to Alaska and we went and did the same things that they did in the videos. And one of the things that they do a lot of in these videos is fishing. And so my sons were like, oh, maybe we could go fishing. And so we started going fishing in Florida a lot.
Uh-huh.
And then we were like, why don't we fish here in Colorado? Why are we only going fishing in Florida? And so then we started fishing here, and then we started getting a little better. And so, yeah, it's could become a thing where, I mean, I think in the last 6 months, I think we've been 15 times. We've been on a fishing trip somewhere, most of them local here, but
your
and
boys really enjoy doing it with you, right? I mean,
they love it.
it's a great family bonding experience, right?
Sure. We're pretty, as old as I am, I try to stay pretty active. I'm in my
Yeah.
50s. So
Yeah.
for me, it's very important that I kind of move around and do things and go hiking. And so some of the early fishing it's a 4-mile hike to go fishing. And
Wow.
so you're bringing all your gear and poles, and we would hike it or bike it, or depending on where we were going. And so it's good exercise for me, and the kids love it, and they like it's good exercise for them too. But yeah, my youngest he's the most encouraged and
Grayson.
excited to go fishing, but the other 2 boys have been on many of the trips as well, and they have caught some monster fish. So they like it.
How do you I know you go, you pick a lake or whatever that that there's fish there, but how do you decide, oh, well, let's fish here? Is there technique to it to figure out where you're going to stick your line in, or is it just throw the line in and wait and see what happens?
It really depends on where you're fishing and what you're fishing for. And usually what we'll do is, if we're going to go to a lake that we haven't been to before, we'll go online and just see. We'll just search that lake and fishing and see where people have been catching there. And there's also apps. There's all kinds of applications that you can get on your phone for fishing, and you can. It's getting to the point where there's no guesswork. They say, this is the spot. This is what bait to use. Fish off the bottom, or fish off the top, or fly fish, or spinner. Whatever it is, they will tell you, depending on which way you're fishing, what to use, where to use it, even what spots. In some places in the app, it'll tell you this exact GPS location is where 20 people have caught 20 different fish, or whatever it is, or this species. Or so it's and that's sort of the thing that started to make it more fun for us, is that we were going and we were getting skunked a lot. We would go on a trip, and when you hike 4 miles to go fishing and you don't catch anything, that's not a good thing.
No.
So we would usually catch a few, maybe a handful.
Yeah.
But then when we started kind of learning, and we should use this kind of fishing line, and we should use this kind of bait, and we should use this kind of fishing rod, and there is a method to the madness. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna go and let's see what happens. If you do that, you're likely not going to,
not to
unless
catch
there's
it.
just a gazillion fish there. You're not going to catch as many fish as you would.
How what kind of fish are you catching? Trout mainly, or what kind of fish are you catching?
Here in Colorado, they have a lot of bass, trout, rainbow trout, brook trout, brown trout, lots of different flavors of trout, crappie, bluegill. Grayson caught a carp, like a
Oh wow.
giant goldfish here at a lake in Colorado. It was at least
Yeah.
a foot or more, but a carp, a big, fat, like orangey red carp.
Wow.
So yeah,
One of the ones that got flushed down the toilet when the kids were kids.
or somebody just
Yeah,
threw it
no, I'm
in.
just joking.
Yeah, but it literally was a goldfish. That's what all carp are. Carp are
Yeah.
goldfish. If you have a big tank, it'll get bigger.
Oh yeah.
I think they only get as big as they can depending on how much they. But if they're in
Right.
a lake, they'll get big. So, but yeah, and then when we did a trip down to Texas, just outside of Dallas a few months ago, and we caught some giant largemouth bass. We got some bluegill there. So yeah, just really depends on where in Florida. There's a totally different species out in the ocean that we catch. So it just really depends on where we're going. But we try to plan at least a week or two ahead, and then that way we can kind of figure out what are we going to do, how are we going to do it, and then we'll rig all our poles and get everything prepped for
In
that
advance.
species at that location before we go to it. So,
And it's a road trip for you guys, right? Like you don't get on a plane, you drive, and then
most
right?
of the time, yeah, most of the time. And I was even thinking about doing a video for this, but I had a bunch of rod holders that I had screwed to the top of I have a topper, like a cover
I
for
know.
the back of
Yeah.
my big truck, and I have these fishing rods in it. In order to get them in and out, though, Grayson would have to climb inside the bed of the truck and then put them in the rod holders and Velcro them. Otherwise, they just fall out while we were driving. And a few weeks ago, I built this whole contraption that mounts to the top of my topper,
Uh-huh.
and all of the rods slide out of the top
Oh wow.
on a track system. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Grayson can just load them at the back of the truck without having to get in. And he was like, "Oh, we're going to do a lot more fishing now," because that was sort of the one thing that he would.
That was the one drag. Yeah, it
Because
was
you
not
can't
fun.
really. Because I mean, we went a few trips ago. We went with it was 5 of us, and you bring a few extra poles, and there's 5 or 6 of you, and then all this. Actually, it was 6, I think. Yeah, it was 6 of us. So that could be up to 10 poles right there. And you can't just lay them in the back of the truck because they get all tangled up when
Right.
you're driving and everything. So this system is pretty cool. So I'm
That's
pretty
cool.
sure I'll do a video on this contraption and put it up on my personal channel. It's very cool.
That's
And
cool.
I was just going to buy one, but I couldn't find one. I still haven't been able to find one that anybody else has made. And even the guy that I bought all the hardware from, he was like, "This is going to be really cool. I think if you
You
show."
just MacGyvered it. You just put it together. That's
Yeah,
great.
I spent a few days designing the whole thing, and then I just built it and installed it in the truck. And everyone who's seen it that fishes is like, "Dude, you could sell that. You could
That's
100."
cool. Now I got one last question about the fishing. Okay, so
Yeah.
I've seen the photographs of you guys with all these fish, and I asked, okay, do you eat all those fish, or do you throw them back? I mean, what do you guys do with what you catch?
It depends. When we go fishing down in Florida, because we don't really have a place where we're going to take all these fish.
Right.
They have charter services in Florida, or even kind of restaurants where you can just when you get off the boat at the end of the day. I want to say the last time we went, we got like 50 something fish. It was a lot of us, but maybe 10 of us, but we had 50 fish at the end of the day. They fillet them all up right on the dock when you get back, and there's a restaurant right there, and you just take them to the restaurant and they cooked them up. So we did end up, I want to say as a party, at least 10 of us, and all the fish that we caught that day, we ate all of them before the day
That's
was over.
great.
So you're not going to get fresher fish than
No.
ones you caught an hour and a half ago. I mean, that's ludicrous. So, but here in Colorado, we keep them sometimes, depending on where we go. There's usually like a 2 or 4 limit, and sometimes we'll take them and fillet them. But for the most part, we just try to catch and release. So
Who's the fish cleaner?
Grayson is
Oh,
the,
really?
well, to be fair, we did a trip about a month or maybe even 2 months ago now, which was all three of my sons, and then each of my sons brought another friend with them. So my oldest son, he actually had two of his friends with him, and those friends knew how to fillet the fish.
Okay,
So his friends were like, "Oh, I can do it, Mr. Headley," and I was like, "Good,"
good. Go
because
for it.
I'm not doing that. I've lugged all this gear down here for all you guys, and and that is the other thing. I'm the official. Oh, my hook broke. Oh, I'll get you. I'll rig you a new one up. So my boys, they know how to tie all the knots and do all the stuff, but they're not that fast. So
Yeah.
I'm usually just full time fixing and untangling for the boys and their friends that don't normally go fishing. But we have a ton of fun, and we do eat some of the fish. We don't. Also, here in Colorado, a lot of the places that we're going, they have what are called stocker fish. So if they didn't add fish to the lake, the amount of pressure and people fishing that lake, wouldn't have any fish in it. So they'll dump 5,000 fish in there every few months.
And you'll throw back small. They're too small. You just throw them back, right?
Yeah. We don't keep any small. We don't keep small fish no matter what. Those are all catch and release. Yeah. But if we get a big, like a 13 or 14 inch, or a decent sized trout that's got some meat on it, Grayson will be like, "Can we keep that?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, I'm fine. As long as you do all the cutting and gut removing, I'll do it. We'll fine." And he knows how to cook them and all that good stuff. We know how to cook them up. So it's tough.
Well, we're gonna move on. My dog Misha, she's over here bothering me. So here. There nice. You go. There's Misha. Now, Misha's a husky, Siberian husky, and they are notorious for getting what's called the zoomies, which is that all of a sudden they have all this energy and they just want to run around the house and spin around. So I decided to videotape that.
Nice.
Do you have dogs or cats, or what kind of animals you got?
We got a zoo over at this joint. We have two dogs. We have a purebred German Shepherd that we got from my friend who used to have two purebred German Shepherds, and then we have another dog. Claire. This dog was a mutt, so we're like, we don't know what he is. Anyway, Claire, somehow, I guess you can send a sample off somewhere and it'll tell you what your dog is, and they'd like check its DNA, and we found out it's like 27 different breeds, including Australian sheepdog, pit bull, Dalmatian. I mean, he's
his mother got around.
Chow. Yes, he's all these different dogs. And we did meet some people that said he's a certain kind of island dog, which is they had all these dogs that were all different dogs, and then on this island, all of the dogs look this exact same way. And we were at some local event in our town, and somebody came up to us and said, "Oh, you have a blah 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 island dog." And we're like, "What?" And then they showed us a picture of their dog that they said was it. We could not tell the difference between our dog and the picture that they had of their dog. And so we always thought that's weird. So then we had him tested, and sure enough, it's just an amalgamation of all these different breeds. But then we also have two cats, and one of them is called Oreo and the other one's called Jazzy. And then we have
every time you push your thumb up, the thumb.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
We have another one called Colorado Western Striped salamander, I think it is. I actually found it at my shop one day. I was just walking through the middle of the concrete, and I saved it and gave it to my youngest son, and he still has that. And then because my son went on a fishing trip with some very good friends of the family in Missouri, and he saw some barn cats. So he got a new cat crave, and so now he's actually fostering 4 kittens for a lady who does kittens. And
Which
so
son is this?
what's that? This Grayson,
Which son?
the youngest.
Grayson. Oh, okay.
So now, in addition to all those animals, we now have 4 kittens that we're fostering, and hopefully, if they make it through the period and they go back to the woman who fosters them, she's going to let Grayson have one of those. And it's like a little cat. The one he's picked is this very cute little purry little calico kitten. And so if Grayson's has his way and everything goes right, we're going to have 3 cats in.
Well, it sounds like Grayson is the one who takes care of the animals, or like mom and dad are like kids. You take care of the animals. Is that how it goes with the dogs?
We've gotten the boys more and more do take care of them, and Grayson. All of our kids are very good with all sorts of animals. They love animals, and we've always had animals from the time we've had kids. The kids have had dogs or cats or something. And so, yeah, they do. Grayson is the animal whisperer of the family, though. He loves birds, cats, dogs, lizards, frogs. If he goes out and plays for any amount of hours, he will usually come back with some sort of animal that he's found somewhere that he wants to adopt. So,
all right, I'll move on. I got another true or false.
Yeah.
True or false? The Headleys have 2 high school graduates under the roof now.
We do. We do.
That's true, right?
My oldest son just graduated high school, and right before that, Claire graduated high school. She snuck in a GED, studying for the GED and testing for the GED. I want to say in like 3 weeks. She was like, you know what, I'm going to get my GED. And then 3 weeks later, she had her GED. But she did really have to cram for the test, because neither of us really went to school. I don't think she went to school. I really don't think either one of us past 13 or 14 didn't really go to school. As somebody accused me of being a high school dropout, and I was like, hey, take it easy. Okay. First of all, I didn't drop out. I just didn't go. Right. And if anything, I'm a middle school dropout. Okay. Not a high school dropout. But I have, Claire, we were both kind of debating whether we should do it, and if we'd be able to get a job, or, if we didn't have a GED.
When you first went out into the real world, right?
Yeah. Back in 2005, when we were both in our, early 30s back then.
Right.
And then I ended up just starting my own company. So, I hired myself. It wasn't a problem. I didn't require myself to have a GED, but Claire always really just wanted to do it, to just be done with it and say that she did do it. And she's also helped a lot of other people get their GEDs from people that are leaving Scientology. So that didn't end up going to school or whatever their situation was. So she did actually figure it out, and she did it, and we're all proud of her. And
I'm sure it doesn't surprise you. It doesn't surprise me. It seems like when Claire decides to do something, she gets it done. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't let any grass grow. She just gets it done.
Yeah. And it was funny because I think she had to do different tests for different things. And it was like, okay, I passed this test. It was like, wow, that was really quick. And then the next day it's like, okay, I passed this test. And I was like, what? And then a few days later, okay, I'm done. I got it. And I was like, wow, babe, that's wild. You're like, this is like a machine.
Well, congratulations to Kale and Claire. That's really well done.
Yeah.
And it's setting a good example for your kids and all that. Of course, you set a great example with your business and all that. So, it's just really, really well done. I have one last question here for you. Okay. And this is more something like, what do you like? You know what I mean? So I've got this question here. Hold on. Here it is. what are some of your favorite podcasts to listen to? Because we talked a little bit, like you don't watch a lot of television, but I do know you listen to podcasts and stuff like that when you're working and all that. So what are some of the ones that you like to listen to that you would suggest to people that maybe they might like?
Well, I grew up in Hollywood, and um, I kind of hung out in Hollywood when I was young. So my dad was in a band, and he played a lot on Sunset Strip, the Whiskey, the Troubadour. He played at a lot of those places, and it was kind of like this LA scene. So I'm very interested in that sort of stuff. So I'll watch podcasts about that. Also, when I was young, my dad really liked Saturday Night Live when I was a kid.
Hmm.
So he watched a lot. I mean, every week. And this was when there was like, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and um, John Belushi, those sort of guys. And
Yeah,
so there's a podcast that's called Fly on the Wall with
yeah,
Dana Carvey and David Spade, and both Saturday Night Live alum. And they will often interview guests that were also on Saturday Night Live, and just fun stories. And it's also from a lot of those are from that time period, or if not that original cast, SNL original cast, the Eddie Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., those sort of David Spade, Dana Carvey, those sort of cast members. When I was little, those or younger, those were a lot of the shows that I would be seeing. Like Eddie Murphy doing the Mr. Bill, or cheeseburger, cheeseburger, Pepsi, Pepsi.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
so when they tell those stories, I genuinely am entertained by those, just because I grew up on that. But then I watch a lot of other comedy. Um, I do a
I
lot.
was going to say I listen to Fly on the Wall too, and it is very funny. Because Dana Carvey is so entertaining. I mean, he'll just go into. He does a great Dennis Miller. He does a great Lorne Michaels. You get to
All
know all
his
these different character voices he does, and they're really, really good.
all of his impressions are. He does this one where he's like, if the Beatles just
Oh,
showed up out of nowhere, it's like, yeah, we all have, like, he's explaining to John, like Paul McCartney is explaining to John Lennon, who just came back from heaven, what's happening. And it's like, yeah, we all have these little tiny telephones with TVs in them, and we watch them. And the most popular girl is a girl with a giant behind, and and she shows it to everyone, and they love it. And it's just like, any impression, I
well,
think.
he also does. He also does. I'm Red Nicky, the redneck comedian. Come and get some.
Yeah. But yeah, and I love Flying the Wall. I also watch there's a podcast called Your Mom's House, which is with
Oh,
Tom Segura and his wife Christina, who's also a comedian. And
yeah.
we've
You like
seen
comedy. You go to comedy shows quite a lot, don't you? You like
we
comedians.
do we do go we usually go, I want to say at least every few months we'll go and see a show. We actually ended up going and seeing Christina P., who's from Your Mom's House. We went and saw her locally here in Denver, and we got to hang out with her after the show, and talk about all kinds of crazy stories and stuff like that. But yeah, we do go to see. We actually there's a comedy club here in Denver, which is amazing, and a lot of really big comedians will come and do material here that they're kind of testing or working on for an upcoming tour or special or something. And we're on this like sort of pre-sale list that we get sent an email if somebody's coming. And we ended up seeing Dave Chappelle at this club, and he did, like, I want to say it was like a 2 hour set that he had done, and it ended up being the majority of like 2 or 3 Netflix specials that came
Oh,
out.
wow.
Done. And that was, and he was just smoking and drinking and hanging out and just doing crowd work, and it was really, really just an amazing. I mean, my cheeks and my stomach were sore the next day. That's how
Yeah,
much laughing that I did in that night. It was literally like you wake up the next day and you're like, oh my God, my freaking face hurts from just laughing so much and so hard for so
Well,
so
back
long.
to a Las Vegas story. I saw Rodney Dangerfield here in Las Vegas years before he died at the Bally's Hotel. It's now called the Horseshoe,
Yeah,
and I always loved him from the movies, Caddyshack and Back to School. Right? I went and
totally.
saw him, and I laughed nonstop. And literally, you're laughing at a joke, and then he hits you with two or three more, and you can't. You just on the floor laughing so hard. Those comedians, because you get the whole persona that he's got, and he's telling these stories, and they're just really funny. I
Yeah.
love good comedians.
I really do think that comedy is therapeutic. I,
Oh
I
yeah,
I just I think if you're not laughing about stuff, you're not going to be doing as well as if you are. I genuinely do believe that. So I try to watch people that entertain me that are also funny. So I watch shows. I watched watch Yellowstone, or I'll watch
yeah.
my Claire was watching the show called Resident Alien, which
Oh
is
yeah, yeah. It's on Netflix. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
yeah, so I was watching that with her. That was fun. There's, I'll watch shows, but I don't really, I mean, I probably don't even watch any network TV really. I don't watch live TV for sure. I don't want
Yeah,
go to
neither
a
do I.
channel. I don't watch commercials. I don't do any of that. So if I do watch a TV show, per se, I'll just download it and just watch the whole season. I won't sit through an hour of TV with
Yeah.
ads and
Right now, I'm on season 4 of Black Sails on Netflix, which came out several years ago on Stars, right? But it's Pirates of the Caribbean
yes,
meets Game of Thrones. I
I've
mean, it's
seen that.
really good.
I've
Yeah,
seen
and
that. That looks
I'm
awesome.
on the last season. There's only 4 seasons, but I really enjoy it. And when I stream stuff, I have friends that just blow through it in like 2 nights, right? No, I do one a day. I just discipline myself because I want it to last a while.
Yeah, I'm not. I have no discipline. Sometimes if I find a really great show and there's like 2 seasons, um, Claire will be like, "You want to watch the second episode?" Like maybe the next day or a few days later, she'll be like, "Oh, do you want to watch the second?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, babe," and she'll be like, "What?" I'll be like, "Already, I watched that whole thing. I'm done." She's like, "You're done with the whole season?" I'm like, "No, I'm done with both seasons. I watched the whole thing. It's done. It's over. I'm out because I just can't. I want to. I
You
am one
want
of
to know
those.
how it
Yeah,
resolves.
yeah. And
I
I
am
don't.
my favorite. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't sleep. I used to have a really. I don't do that as much anymore. I mean, maybe a decade ago, I would just watch. I could watch a season a night. Like that's how bad I am because I couldn't, I wasn't really able to sleep a lot. But I've sort of resolved all my sleeping stuff. So now,
Yeah,
if it doesn't happen by midnight, I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm going.
yeah.
I'll watch another one tomorrow. But
My favorite show is Lost, and of course I've done 2 shows on Lost on my channel here.
mhm.
But I've watched Lost. There's 100 and something episodes. I've watched Lost at least 6 times all the way through. Like it's one of these shows that I'll go back and watch it again. And I love watching it with somebody who's never watched it. Like I
Yeah.
recently got Janice to watch it, and
Mhm.
she was watching it at her house. And she would tell me what she was like you. She'd watch 2 or 3 a night, and I just sort of go on Netflix to see where, so I remembered where she was at. But the other one that I really loved was Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Did you ever watch those? Because they're
I did. I
fantastic
haven't
shows.
seen Lost, but I have seen Breaking Bad, and I did see Better Call Saul, and I even watched the movie. I can't remember what it was called, Grand
Oh yeah, yeah, the El Camino.
El Camino.
Yeah, yeah.
But another show is funny when you said that thing about Lost. My show like that is a show called Peaky Blinders.
Oh, that's a great show. I've seen it. Yeah,
I've seen that all seasons at least 7 times, I want to say.
oh no kidding, I've only
I
watched it
just
one time.
every once in a while, and actually I think what it was is for many years we were waiting for another season. So
Mhm.
before the next season would come out, I'd watch all the other seasons again. And then every time a new season came out, I did that. And I don't remember how many seasons it is now, but there's been times where I'll be like, oh, there's nothing on. I'll be like, I'll just watch Peaky Blinders again. I'll just start right at the beginning, just watch it all the way through.
Yeah, it's like I'm like that with movies sometimes. When one of my favorite movies, I'm just flipping channels and it's halfway through. I end up watching the whole thing. The rest of the
Totally.
way.
I do that too. I've seen Big Lebowski about 50 times.
Oh
Big
yeah,
Lebowski. Somebody came over. We were having some kind of party or something, and somebody came over, and I said a line from the movie. I was just joking around. He goes, "Are
yeah.
you a Big Lebowski fan?" And I was like, "Dude, you know that that's from the movie?" And he's like, "Yeah." And the next day we watched it. He
Oh
just came
yeah.
over and we just watched it again. And but he was the sort of the same way. He was like, "Oh, you really do know the movie." I'm like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure at this point I could just say all of the dialogue right before they say it, just
Yeah.
the whole entire thing." So
No, it's pretty amazing. But I do recommend Lost. You trust me. You watch the pilot, which was directed by J.J. Abrams.
yeah,
It's 2 episodes, right? But they did it one night, and you will be hooked. And then you'll be
okay,
like, "What's happening next? What's happening next?" That happened to
we'll
Janice,
see, we'll
and
see.
she got through it in like 2 weeks, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't.
"It's
So
on
wait.
Netflix. You can get it on Netflix.
Oh,
Actually, it's on
you
Hulu,
can.
but it's coming on net. It's coming on Netflix in July. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Yeah.
do watch. I want to say YouTube is my main source of entertainment, but every once in a while I'll pop over to Netflix and watch something over there. The other thing I was going to say that I watch, which is kind of the craziest thing ever, is I watch this guy. His channel is Vice Grip Garage, and he just fixes. He goes to some place. He buys a car that hasn't run in like 30 years. He buys it. He flies to that place and he just brings like a toolkit, just
Yeah.
some basic stuff. He fixes the car that hasn't driven in 20 or 30 years, and then he drives it back to Tennessee where he lives. And he has like a field just with all these junk cars that he's collected from all over the United
Oh
States.
wow.
And it's funny because we have Teslas. We have Tesla electric cars,
Right.
and I've never been a car person. And now that I have electric cars, I love watching this guy fix old cars. And it's the weird. Even people see me watching, they go, "Don't you have Teslas?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, then what do you care about?" I was like, "I like the guy. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
fixes stuff." And I actually, when I see him fixing stuff, I'm like, "Oh, I really know how like an internal combustion engine car. I really
Yeah.
know how it works. I probably could fix it just from watching this guy fix 200 cars. I could be like, well, we got to check spark. We got to see
Well,
if fuel. We got
it's
to,
funny how you mentioned that because I had to get my turn signal, my front turn signal light bulb was out on my Ford Fusion, right? So
yeah,
I have a friend who's a mechanic, and I was going to have him do my brakes, which he did, but then he had to fix that too. Well, it's really hard to get to. So I watched a YouTube video of somebody taking apart. Here's how you take it apart to get to it, right? And I was playing it while he was doing, and then he did the exact same thing, and he got it fixed.
yeah. It is
Pretty
a
amazing
wild,
YouTube.
it is a wild world we live in that pretty much anything you want to do, you can just, someone's 99.9% of the time, someone's already tried to do what you're trying to do, and they videoed it and showed you how you could do it. So it's it is kind of wild, the amount of things. And this is the last thing I'll tell you, and then I kind of jump because we've been on
Yeah,
here.
yeah, no problem. Yeah.
I had a lawnmower that I couldn't start, and I tried this, I tried that, I tried all this stuff. I couldn't get it. So there was a guy I knew down the street who fixed lawnmowers. He was like a small engine expert. So I said, "Hey Hans, can you come over and pick this thing up, and I'll give you a couple bucks or whatever." And so he took it, and then like a day or two later, he brought it back. He said, "It's all good. It runs great. I fixed it up." Da da da. I was like, "Okay, great." About 2 years later, um, things been sitting all winter. Go to mow the lawn. Ugh, it's jammed up. And I message Hans. "Hey, Hans." He's like, "I'm out of town. I can't." I'm like, "Oh man." So I went on YouTube and I Googled the exact kind of lawnmower I had and how to fix it. And I'm watching the video, and it's Hans, my friend, is the one who's doing the video. And I'm like, "Oh my God, what are the chances that Hans is going to show me how to?"
Showing you.
Yeah. Well, in the video, he's like, yeah, my friend Mark dropped this thing off. I'm like, oh, not only am I going to learn how to fix my lawnmower, I'm going to watch the guy that last fixed it, who did a video on how to fix it was my lawnmower that he was fixing in the video. So I was like, what are the chances? I had no idea he had a YouTube channel. But it was sort of a surreal moment in the middle of the video. I'm watching it on my phone in my garage, and he mentions me in the video.
That's great.
My friend dropped this off. He couldn't get around. I was like, great. I'm literally going to do the exact same thing that Hans already did 2 years ago when he fixed the exact same lawnmower. But yeah.
Well, anyway, Mark, I really want to thank you for being on my show, Freestyle with Mark Fisher. And I really appreciate it. Anyway, please subscribe to our channel, my channel, subscribe to Mark's channel. My channel is called Las Vegas Travel and More. Just search that if you're not watching it. Click on it, subscribe. You know, I do lots of fun videos like this, and I think you'd really enjoy it. And I'm sure, Mark, your channel is going to be really fun to watch too. Any questions or comments, of course, go down below. You can do that, and I answer them. And then if you'd like to support my channel, you can buy me a coffee. Just click on the link down below in the description. Buy me 10 coffees if you want, and really appreciate any support. Finally, I would like to ask you if you would become a member of my channel. You just click on the join button next to the subscribe. There's a little video that I've got 2 levels of membership, and I want to thank the people who have already joined. I just set up membership about 2 weeks ago, and I really want to thank them for becoming members. But please, it's another way to support the channel, and all the money I get just goes back into this channel because I'm going to be doing lots of traveling and stuff like that. So anyway, Mark, have you got anything else you'd like to say before we kind of end this off?
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. And yeah, hopefully people tune in. And yeah, just search Marc Headley on YouTube. And my channel is just called Marc Headley. So
and I'll put it in the description. I'll put a link to it, Mark, in the description so people can find it too. Okay.
Perfect,
Until next time, everybody. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.